Hello, hello, hello. Good morning and welcome. My name is Lee Cara, and this is Unleash Your Light right here at the Akashic Academy. I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. The kids all went back to school this week. I think it doesn't matter where you live at least here in the States, the kids all went back to school this week. So my sophomore son was not thrilled, but he's dealing with it. There's only 4 more months till the end of school, 5 more months. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm going to make sure that we are live. Good morning, everybody. Check in, say hello to each other. Hello, Princess Krista. Not Princess Krista, but Princess and Krista. As you can see, my co-host is already kind of wound up back there. Hi, Becky. Hi, Marie. Welcome. I hope that you will share out. I hope that you will invite. I think we have a really good show. And last week I spoke about doing the show. Hi, Pam. Oh, from New Jersey. Oh, your kids are still out. Oh, my goodness, Krista. I'm only down to one kid at home now. My oldest is 29, and then I have one that turns 27 this month. So they are far out of the house. Yes, Marie. All right, Teresa. I know. My son did the same thing. He did not fall asleep because he's been so used to getting up, right? So he's been up until like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we get up at 6 for school. So yesterday he was like, Mom, I got 2 hours sleep. I'm like, I hear you, friend. I hear you. I was in the same boat. I got 2 or 3 hours sleep. So, all right. So I shared to a couple of places. I shared to my personal wall. I hope you guys will all come on over, be my friend. My name is Lee Cara. I think I might be the only one. Oh yeah, you have 18 of them. They're Princess. So you're dealing with all of them being too tired to go back to school, I'm sure. All right. So I had spoken about doing a show about time travel for healing. And so I thought I would go ahead and jump right into that today. And then, right, like I had spoken about it. And then a friend of mine, Gerald, he did a whole show on quantum physics and time travel and all this kind of stuff. So it was really, really interesting. And Tuesday night on the 1st, Happy New Year, everyone, I did a show called the action plan for 2019. So I hope that you will go back and check this show out. You can find it in the videos. You see my cat is going crazy. My energy gets up and the cat goes bonkers. You can find it in the row of videos that says Unleash Your Light. That's all the shows I've done since I started here at the Academy. I've been broadcasting. Oh, there was our first orb of the day. I've been broadcasting for about two years with Unleash Your Light, sometimes twice a week, sometimes once a week. And now I'm doing it here at the Academy. I think I'm at 44 shows. So we're getting close to our own year. I hope you'll go back and check out that action plan. And I do want to let you know, welcome, Georgia. Welcome, Crystal. Or Kristen. Crystal. My eyeballs. There is this weekend on Sunday, the ladies from the Spirit Sessions. They were the first show here at the Academy. And so they are doing a big celebration because this Sunday at noon Eastern time, they're going to do our 1-year anniversary show for the Akashic Academy. So they're going to have a ton of people that broadcast right here on this page come in and give you the best thing that they learned in 2018 that you can carry into the next year. Welcome, Sheila from Washington State. You are up early. So I hope you will join the lovely Teresa, her friend Bex Marie, and Rhonda Elliott as they welcome so many of our amazing hosts here at the Academy to come on in and share some wisdom and maybe some funny stories. I'm going to be there. I'll do my little piece. And I got to be on with them just before the holidays, and it was so much fun. I had such a great time. So you can actually find that on their YouTube, and you can find that right here at the Academy. I'm going to be posting it to mine as well. So we got all the bases covered. Okay, so today we're going to talk about healing with time travel. Now, this sounds bonkers, right? It sounds like science fiction. It sounds like something that comes from way in left field, right? This is actually a concept that they, whatever you like to call the other energy, the voices in your head, the consciousness, your guides, your angels, everybody has a different word for the energy that speaks to them. I just usually say they. That I've personally used, that they brought to me to heal my own pain, my own trauma, and the things that I had been through. Okay, so I write about this in my book. It is a free download. It's a PDF. And it's on my website, unleashyourlight.org. I will put up the little thing at the end of the show. Wait, let me put it up right now while we're doing this. Okay, so you can go there. It is Simple Spirituality of Self. And I dig into this and the individual emotions that keep us from loving ourselves unconditionally, which basically is the basis for the action plan. Okay. So, oh, good, Nirma. This is beautiful then. You're gonna love this. Okay, so Unleash Your Light is all about overcoming the emotional obstacles that keep us from connecting fully with that divine that's inside of us, right? And those emotional obstacles come from those places in us that are unhealed. When we go through things in our past, when we have trauma, even little things, even something as simple as a throwaway sentence that somebody says to you, like, something's not right about that girl. Or, what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? Why can't you figure out how to add? Or, nobody wants to hear what you have to say, little girl. I use the example of Uncle Dave a lot at the Thanksgiving table, saying to you, nobody wants to hear what you have to say, little girl. These tiny throwaway things in our lives can create an unhealed place that we will then make a core belief about. That nobody wants to hear what I have to say. What I have to say doesn't matter. And then the universe starts bringing us evidence that that is a true thing. We'll find that evidence in real life, and then we believe it. And then we create situations and bring them to us because we recognize, right, that our minds are creating our reality, our experience. They are attracting to us the lessons that we need to learn, right? And they come from these pieces of us that are unhealed. And some people have very deep trauma pain from abuse and from heartbreak and from loss and from deaths in their family. And people, the human in us goes through such amazing, incredible, painful suffering sometimes. And we can't really change what has happened to us in the past if we look at the facts. But the time travel allows us to go back to that and reframe it and re-experience it using the tools that you know now. They say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But if you could go back in time and teach those new tricks that you learned to that little puppy who is the same old dog, when you go back to the present, that new dog would know all of those tricks that you were able to teach because of your experience. Hi, Cindy, welcome. So, why time travel? Why? All time happens all the time. Time is a human construct. We live in a society that has a linear idea of time. And those of you who've been in this awakening for a while, and those of you who really tune into the consciousness and all that kind of stuff, and even some of you who are just having your awakening, because everyone gets a different flavor, you're starting to realize that time is not always as linear as we think it is. You'll find things that are looping in your life. You'll have these moments like relativity, like Einstein, where some moments seem to stretch forever and some moments go by so quickly it's almost like they're in fast forward, right? So all time is happening all the time, and it's only our perception of time that lines it up, okay? It's the way that it's our mass perception of time and the way that we experience in our 3D body with our 3D brain that creates this line of linear time that happens chronologically, right? But all of that time is happening right now. So why do I say this? I know that this is like, I'm not a scientist, okay? If you think about something painful that happened to you, and if you want to do that, good morning, Gerald. If you want to do that right now, you're certainly welcome to. If you want to pay attention and not go into those thoughts, that's okay too. Whatever works for you is the right thing, okay? So if we think about something painful that happened to us in our past, I always try to use something simple so that it doesn't get people too triggered. So if you were a child and somebody on the playground threw a rock at you and hit you in the head with that rock and called you names and everybody laughed. When we think of that incident today, it still hurts, right? You can still feel the shame that you felt. You can still feel the pain that you felt. If you are a person who has used that tossed rock and maybe the jeers and the freak and people laughing at you to then create part of your core identity, then you will feel that moment of being teased, of being bullied, of being hurt. And you will feel it so deeply right now that it will almost make you cry, that it will literally take you to that moment. And why is that? Because the things that you haven't healed are still happening exactly as they happened right now. And when you think about it, you are literally putting yourself in that moment if you haven't actually healed it. And in fact, time, as humans, we can actually elaborate and expand on something bad that happened to make it even bigger and worse and harder to deal with than the actual event that happened, right? Sometimes we look back on fights with people that we've had, and we're way madder about it today than we were 5 years ago because we've been stewing on what we wanted to say and how we wanted it to go, and they never got their comeuppance. And you get, like, we can really create a new past because we're constantly time traveling to commiserate about it, because we're constantly in that state of it, right? So that's why when I say you can heal with time travel, because you can also hurt with time travel. You can still feel the pain of it. If that person who threw rocks at you, okay, and hit you in the head and called you a freak and made everybody laugh at you, if you have not forgiven that person in that moment, if you have not healed that situation, then they are still throwing a rock at your head today. And here's the kicker. Now we think, oh, I was just a little kid and who cares? I got a rock through at my head. Nobody cares. It's not a big deal. That's the past. I'm not paying attention to it, right? Here's how it works its way into your life. So those little kids threw a rock at you, hit you in the head, called you names, yelled freak at you, whatever it was. This has now, this bullied bit of you, become ingrained in you. Maybe your reaction to that was to get tougher, to have your defenses up, to start to attack before people attack you. So now if we fast forward 20 years, 30 years, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, and you meet somebody new who kind of, maybe they look at you a little, you put the wall up, you go on the attack. Maybe you get snarky. Maybe you start saying something mean. Maybe you're lashing out. Maybe you get agitated about it and you can't figure out, I don't even know this person. Why am I putting so much energy into being mad at them, into, pursuing them, into, talking bad about them, right? I mean, maybe that's not your thing, but you see how these things that happen, they create a root. And that root will grow in a million different directions. Maybe instead of getting tougher, you become more victim-like. Maybe now you think everyone's looking at you all the time. And now you get you lose confidence and you get very withdrawn and isolated. Maybe now every time that somebody speaks to you, now you're thinking, oh man, they know exactly what's wrong with me. I'm such a freak. I'll never have anything good in my life. And the vines will go up that way. If you have things in your life today that give you a strong reaction, that means there's something in your past that is not healed. I always say if something gives you a strong reaction, to make a note. If something gives you fear immediately, if your immediate response is to get angry or frustrated with something, make a note, because that is coming from an unhealed place in you. Do you see this? Wait, right here? The arrow looks like it's coming out of my head because I have this little thing back here. I love that. So we have to pay attention to these moments because they are clues to what is actually going on. We pay attention to the things that give us a strong reaction now, because honestly, you may not remember that little kid throwing that rock at you. You might just remember feeling like a freak and having that follow you. You might not specifically remember Uncle Dave telling you to shush at the dinner table. And yet it permeates itself into your brain and is still affecting how you act today. You might not remember having been abused because you blocked it out. When we go through incredibly painful things, our brain copes with it sometimes by completely blocking it out. So you might not even remember what you went through, but you still react to the same triggers in today, in the now. And why do you react that way? Because all time happens all the time. So when something in your life today gives you that same emotional response, it triggers you in the same way that what happened in the past does. You are literally brought back to that moment in the past. And you are feeling the feelings of that. We see this in relationships a lot, where maybe you had a relationship in the past and the person lied to you and cheated on you and did terrible things. Now we're in the today, right? And you have a new relationship and it's wonderful and it's fabulous. And I tell this story. Are you ready? Okay, so in a past relationship, you came home from work, the sheets were stripped off of your bed and they're in the washer. You hear the washer going and your partner is like, welcome home, honey, and tries to be nice. And it turns out that they cheated on you and they're washing the sheets because they're clearing away the evidence. And you have a huge fight and your heart is broken. And now you've split. So here we are 10 years later and you come home from work and you walk in the house and the bed is stripped and the sheets are in the washer and you lose your poo. You go crazy. You start yelling and screaming and being angry or starting to be suspicious and constantly questioning your partner. Now, the partner you have now is just trying to do a nice thing by doing laundry, by cleaning the bed, by, being nice to you. But you, when you have that trigger, immediately revert to the emotions that happened the last time you came home and those beds were stripped. So now this is a very physical representation of how something in the past will immediately take you back there. You might be so in that you ruin the relationship you're in now with your suspicion because you haven't healed from that last relationship. Even though you put it in the past and you think you got over the person, that pain that it planted in you as a root has been working its way out with its vines, insidiously working its way into your daily life and your emotions. And this is why it's so important to heal. This is why it's so important to have unconditional love. And that before somebody leaves your life, you deal with those emotions. Now, we know that now because you're here, you're in the awakening, because you're getting all these beautiful tools from people on how to deal with these emotions in the now when they happen. But what do you do with the ones from the past? What do you do with the ones from the past? How do we do this? How do we time travel to heal? Okay, here come the nuts and bolts. Are you ready? What you're going to do when you have a strong reaction about something, you don't have to do it in the moment, but you can literally, you make a little note, or you put it in your phone or something and say, when so-and-so called me a name at work or implied that I was being lazy, I really got angry. I got super angry and it took me out of my character. It took me out of my happy place, right? Where does this come from? So what we're going to do is we're going to trace these emotions backwards. That's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to literally travel through time in our memories. Before we start this, of course, you know that visualization is powerful, that we are creating with our minds, that our minds and our frequencies affect the energies around us, right? So you have to keep all of that in mind as you do this, and know that what you are seeing and what you are hearing and what you are experiencing is real, okay? Just like with your clairaudience, clairsentience, all that kind of stuff where you're kind of fighting it, put yourself into this 100% and go with it, okay? So you're gonna think of that emotion that person triggered in you. I don't like that word triggered, but that emotion that person brought up in you. And you're going to think back, when was the last time I felt this way? Okay, when so-and-so did this. When was the last time I felt this way? You go back as far back as you can go. And of course, each time you go back, if it's a big one, if you only went back 3 years and it's this huge thing, that's where you start. But if it happened to you 3 years ago and it's still happening, most likely it'll go back deeper than that. Because if we use that same scenario of the person coming home and that happening, you are attracting an untrustworthy person because of something that you felt about yourself, because of something that you had been through in your past where someone had betrayed you, okay? Because we're attracting these lessons so that we can learn from them. So if you were hurt 5 years ago, it's probably from a wound that came way before that and way before that. So we're going to go backwards until we get to that thing that's really hurtful, that you're still feeling that pain so deeply. Okay. So here's what you do in that situation. Now I'm going to take it all the way back to the dinner table with Uncle Dave shushing you at Thanksgiving time, because I've used this example many times, and it tends to be very demonstrative, like you can really see it. So here you are at the Thanksgiving table, and your parents are there and some relatives are there, and you speak up. And Uncle Dave shushes you. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say, little girl. And back then, you just kept your mouth shut. But now when you get together with Uncle Dave, you get so angry. You see, there was another one. You get so angry at him, and you just want to throw your wine at him. And then you're at work, and you're trying to speak up, and people kind of push you to the side. And so then you get angry about it, and you lash out, and you get to where you're almost a bully with other people because you want to get what you want said and not listen to what they have to say, right? Hi, Christy. Welcome. Hi, Kumar, welcome. Okay, so we want to time travel all the way back to that dinner table. And in your mind, you really have to visualize it, see it, and be right there. The first thing you want to do is comfort yourself. Comfort yourself. Now they say, oh, work with your inner child. Yes, this happens to be a child, but if it was the thing with the sheets, you would go to that moment when you were having that argument with that person, put everything on pause, and comfort yourself in that moment as a grown-up. So I don't think it's really the inner child per se, but more the inner wound, the inner pain. Okay, the persona that's created from our suffering and our trauma and our pain. Okay, but you're at the table, you see yourself there. Now you're all upset because Uncle Dave told you to shush. You're wanting to cry. I just want to tell everyone that I love cake and nobody will listen. Whatever it is, you comfort yourself. You get down on that level with yourself, and you hug yourself, and you say to yourself, you know what you have to say is important and it matters. And you can tell me right now, whatever it is that you want to say. And I'll listen for as long as you want to talk. Maybe you'll talk about your toys, and maybe you'll talk, who knows? Maybe you'll talk about how hurt you are if you're doing it later in life. You just sit there and be your own best friend for a moment. Hi, Bridget, welcome. Be your own best friend and comfort yourself and hug yourself. Okay, that's the first thing that you're going to do. Now, you're going to turn and you're going to look at Uncle Dave. And you're going to say to Uncle Dave, you know what, Uncle Dave? You're going to use your empathy, right? I've done shows on forgiveness. They're very difficult. I've done shows on forgiveness, but you're going to recognize that Uncle Dave is literally not trying to hurt you. And even if he is trying to hurt you, it's coming from his own pain. It's coming from the life that he led. And just as you have been lashing out at other people because of the pain that he planted, he is lashing out at you because of the pain that was planted in him. He is doing what he's doing because of the life that he has led. And it's the only way that he deals with his own dysfunction, his own issues, with his own pain, right? So when you can see that in him, you don't even have to know where that pain came from. You only have to know that I understand pain. I empathize with your pain, Uncle Dave. I get it. It wasn't about me. You weren't shushing me because I don't deserve to be heard. You were shushing me because maybe you've led a life of being shushed. And so when you can shush others, it makes you feel right. Okay? So we're going to use that empathy to see Uncle Dave as he actually is, a wounded person lashing out. So then we're going to forgive Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave, I forgive you. I get it. You know what? It's not right that you did this to a little kid, but I get it. I understand. I empathize with you, and I forgive you. Now, you don't have to say that to him in real life, and maybe Uncle Dave is long gone. But you have to do this in your visualization in the past, because you're time traveling to the emotional residual memory where that pain was started. So now maybe you're going to turn to your parents and you're going to say, you know what? I forgive you for not comforting me. I forgive you for allowing him to do this to me. I forgive you for all of that because you know what? You didn't know that he was hurting me this badly. And maybe you were in your own little world of pain and hurt. And maybe Uncle Dave has been shushing you your whole life, right? You use that same empathy on anyone that's sitting there that you still hold resentment towards because they didn't protect you, because they didn't speak up for you, because they didn't help you, because they didn't validate your pain. Now, this is the most important piece of all of this. So you've comforted yourself, right? You've loved yourself. You've said, you know, you are important. You've said all the nice things. You've forgiven the people who hurt you, or you're working on it, right? You've at least said, I understand, I empathize with your pain, and I'm working on forgiving you if you can't do it right away. Now you have to turn to your grown self, the one that is standing there observing this scene and doing the forgiving and the comforting. And you have to say to yourself, I forgive you for believing this and for carrying this with you and for allowing this to affect who you are, who I am. You have to say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay that you felt this way, but you don't have to feel this way anymore. And you can let all this go. And you can heal it. And I love you anyways, even though you held on to this all these years and you didn't have to. You turn that empathy on you face to face. And you forgive yourself for believing anything that wasn't rooted in unconditional love. Now, that's the hard part. That is the hard part. But you are there in that emotional moment. You are there in that space of where your pain was created. And so that is the space that you have to go back to heal it. And sometimes you have to go back several times. Sometimes you have to do it over and over again because we realize it goes further and further and further back. And sometimes you have to regress before birth even. Now that one is a little bit deeper. And I don't talk about that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that I haven't done it personally, and it doesn't mean that I don't believe in whatever, but that's not my gig here on this planet right now. But you have to go into those spaces of you that have those horrible memories, that have those bad experiences. You have to go back to it. But when you go back to it, you don't go back to it naked. You go back to it armed with your tools, with your knowledge, and with your unconditional love. Because now you can see the situation for what it truly was. You don't have to take it personally. You don't have to think it was your fault. You can take your responsibility and your accountability for what your part in it was, if some of it was your fault. But you can go back and reframe and shift your perspective of what happened and see it in the light of unconditional love. It is not an easy thing. I often talk about going into those spaces where we've had the most pain, very much like Star Wars, the one where he's training with Yoda. And Luke Skywalker goes into the tree and he asks Yoda, what's in there? What's in that tree? Why don't you want me to go in there? You know, what is it? And Yoda says, he says, what's in there? And Yoda says, only what you take with you. So when you go into that tree to face your darkest moments, to face your most painful moments, you can go in there with your lightsaber. You can go in there with your heart of unconditional love. You can go in there with your knowledge of forgiveness and peace and focus, and with your connection to the light, to God, to source, to Gaia, whatever the heck you like to call it Fred, it doesn't matter what you call it. And I know that this is not an easy thing to do, because when things happen to us, we want to leave them in the past. We don't want to dig up our garbage over and over again. But you know what? When you dig it up and you heal it, when you dig it up and you do with it what you are doing with things that happen in your life now. Because now when you have a conflict with someone, you don't pack it away and not look at it. You don't, push it to the side and not pay attention. You don't ignore the emotions that it brings up in you, right? Now you work on it. Maybe you transmute it. Maybe you meditate. Maybe you talk to that person. Maybe you talk to their higher self, whatever it is. Now you use those tools. Healing with time travel is literally going back to those things, those places, those residual memories where your pain was created, where those buttons were installed, where those triggers were put in, pushing them and fixing them, healing them, uninstalling them, loving them enough that now they trigger something different, like a response of empathy, a response of unconditional love. Maybe now that you've healed it, when somebody tries to shush you, you understand that that's coming from their own place. And rather than react defensively, you wait your turn. Or you listen with your ears instead of hearing through your pain. Because maybe what they're saying is very similar to what you're going to say. Or maybe it's something that you need to hear. But you wouldn't have heard that before because you were listening through the ears of your pain and seeing through the lens of your past. You can do this. You can use these tools that you are learning now in this awakening, and you can go back to every painful moment in your life and heal. and every person that you are holding grudges against, and forgive. Even yourself. You can even go back to those moments where you were the one doing messed up stuff, where you were the one hurting people, where you screwed up, and comfort yourself for even in those moments that you now are punishing yourself for. Comfort yourself that you lied. Comfort yourself that you lashed out. Comfort yourself that you lost faith. And love yourself. And heal. And it's not an easy thing, but it is a simple thing. Because all it takes is loving yourself enough to pay attention and to want to do this. So I hope you guys will do this in your own lives. I know it's not easy, but it is totally worth it, because as you do this, you are clearing away all of the stuff that coats your beautiful light, like Windex, right? And as you clear that away, your connection gets stronger. You're going to hear more clearly. You're going to see more clearly. You are going to get that download from the light so much more clearly. Your purpose is going to be laid out in front of you, because you will be able to see through the eyes of unconditional love, live in the Christ consciousness. You will be able to live in that space of unconditional love every day as you clear away all of those things that take you out of it. All right, so let's do some business. Thank you so much for being with me today, guys. I know that this was a little bit of a hard one. And, oh, Marie, that's beautiful. I really appreciate that. And you can go to my book. Let's do that one first. You can go and get my book, and I talk about this, and I talk about specific emotions. Thanks, Krista. I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of goofy. I talk about specific emotions. Depression. I talk about jealousy. I talk about fear. I talk about anger, and how you can take these emotions and heal them with this time travel method by going back and where these things come from and what they tend to be based in. You can download that. It's called Simple Spirituality of Self, and it's really all about learning to love yourself unconditionally. It is a very difficult thing to do, but that is the action plan for 2019. My action plan, are you ready? You're not alone. Go back and watch it. You're not alone. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a boost. That means pat yourself on the back sometimes. Spend 3 minutes a day with only unconditional loving thoughts and words to yourself. That's a hard one, but it's an important one. Sit in a public place and send out a frequency of unconditional love. Once you're getting the self-love down, push it outward, right? Most of us are pretty good at that, but we need to make a point of doing that more often, actually doing it. Make memes of yourself with encouraging words on them. Use some of these little apps where you can make yourself look like an angel, or you can put yourself in the galaxy, or give yourself rabbit ears, so you can snap yourself out of those negative thoughts. Oh, I did these backwards. Forgive yourself if you screw up. Forgive yourself. It's like giving yourself a break, but it adds an extra bit in, because not only are you giving yourself a break for screwing up, you're saying, you know what, it's okay. It's all right. It's not that big a deal. And if you fall off, it's okay if you fall off, as long as you're getting back on, right? And don't give up. Hang in there. Ask for help. We're an amazing community. We are an amazing group of people. If you're out there in the interwebs, there are tribes of people who are just like you, who are going through the same pain, the same unsureness, the same level of self-awareness. No matter where your level of spirituality is, no matter where your beliefs take you, there's a tribe out there that's just for you. And if you believe that you will find them, believe me, your paths will cross, just as mine did, right here at the Akashic Academy. So speaking of which, you are watching me on the public page of the Akashic Academy, and we have amazing shows here. There should be some more shows today. You know, I keep saying there's shows, and then I tune in, and they're, they were canceled this week, or they moved, or they added something. We have things shifting and changing all the time here. So tune in later today and see who shows up. Because I have no idea. It should be Tanya Mosley, and it should be Rita and the Rainbow Bridge. We will see what happens, and it's always exciting. I did a show. Oh, there was another one. I did a show just the other night, just, had one day's notice and decided I'm going to come on and broadcast, and so you never know what's going to happen here. This weekend, again, don't forget on Sunday about the show, the 1-year anniversary of us here. You can go to the Akashic Academy and get your copy of the new magazine for this quarter. In fact, you can probably scroll up on this page and hit the link for that. You can also sign up for the newsletter. It is totally free. It is not spammy. Emily does not send you a million things. It is just beautiful messages that keep you up to date. And you can join the exclusive group of the Akashic Academy, where there is all kinds of extra ceremonies and rituals and readings and channelings, and they're working on so much more for this year. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what they have planned, so you should definitely do that. Put my link up. Yes, I will. You can always find me at unleashyourlight.org. I have both of my books there. I have a podcast little link where you can hear all of these and download them to your RSS feed, where I'm uploading the shows in order that I started them here at the Academy, and a link to my YouTube there. I have some shirts and stuff if you want to buy things with my little, sayings on them and whatnot. But mostly you can go and get my free books there. You don't even have to sign up with your email address, although I would appreciate it. You don't have to. And both of the books are there, Unleash Your Light and The Simple Spirituality of Self, and they are short. I write just like I talk. So it is simple stuff, and it is easy to understand. And one of the books is 35 pages long. One of them is like 40 pages long. Simple, simple stuff. I am also right here with a group and a page called Unleash Your Light. So if you type in Unleash Your Light right here at Facebook, you're probably going to find me. And I also have lots of room for friends. You can come on over and friend me. On my wall, I'm kind of a sci-fi geek. I put up little funny pictures of my cat, my co-host here. This one is Q. And I love all of you guys. And I'm so grateful to be here in 2019. And I have so much planned for this year, you guys. It is so exciting. My friend Gerald that popped in, we did a show called The Energy of Wealth that you can also find over here or on one of my pages. We have some stuff planned for this year. Very soon, we're going to roll it out. So I hope you guys will stay tuned.